every time you launch a game, there's 20 different things you got to do, and each thing is 10 to 30 hours.
Yep.
You know, can we just take each of those things and make it 10 minutes?
Yep.
If we can, then we'll do it, right? And so,
and if we can do that across 1,000 studios,
that's
a lot of time savings there.
Yeah.
And then you can just work on games.
Yeah, you can take that time savings and then start, vibe coding. And
100%.
then you can take that time savings and you can spend all that extra time that you save to fix all the bugs that your AI generated.
100%.
Yeah. And it's the future we live in. Hey, everybody. Welcome to episode 564 of Coffee with Butterscotch, the weekly podcast for indie game developers. I'm Seth, and I'm the games programmer.
I'm Adam, the miscellaneous programmer.
I'm Sam, and over there, Tease.
We are Butterscotch Shenanigans. Today is March 13th, 2020. Quick! It's Friday the 13th, which happens all the time. And it's not a big deal. Don't be weird about it.
I'm spooked.
Don't get spooked. Don't even think about it. It's not a problem. Okay? Everything's going great, and nothing can go wrong. Okay?
Yes, everything is going great.
Just focus on our little
Just stay in your lane. Stay in your bubble. Don't take your head out of the sand. All right. This episode, we're going to talk about LudoKit, which is the service that we are building. And by we, and we're taking credit, but Adam's building it. And then Sam and I are giving design feedback and
very useful
and
design.
using it a lot.
Yep.
And then hopefully we can talk a little bit about how many dudes at the end. We've had some interesting design lessons from the past couple of weeks of development. So let's get into LudoKit.
Yeah.
So
Let's do it.
Take it away, Adam.
I'll take it away.
Yeah.
What do we do? What am I doing? What is LudoKit? What's the whole point of all of this? So we talked about this a bit in the past in prior episodes. But now the thing is in a state where it's ready to really talk about it again. Because now it's time for some more open development, time to start getting feedback from more people. And so I want to talk about kind of where it's at, what problems we're trying to solve. So big idea is after we finished Crashlands 2 and released it and decided we need to switch to a smaller dev cycle so we can make smaller games faster. That also meant that we were going to have to release games more often. And my job at the studio has historically mostly been building tools to help us make games faster. It has not been
to make them.
Yeah. And I've spent, again, we've been doing this for over a decade, right? And I've been doing this for a decade because Sam and Seth started a little before I did. And that whole time I've been building web services and internal software, right? To make things go faster. That's all been replaced over time with better and better things to adapt to all of our changes and stuff, right? But it's all been this just internal stuff focused on making games faster. So at this point, we can make games pretty dang fast. Like the bottleneck isn't really like our production stuff. It's not
The production pipeline is pretty mature on our
You
side.
might be thinking, how come your last game took 4.5 years to make? Listen, that was a choice.
That was a choice.
Okay? That was a choice.
And that game is fucking huge.
It's just
also.
enormous.
We didn't have to spend 4.5 years making a game.
But we did do it.
But
Think about how much game we made in those 4 years, right? So in terms of our capacity to make games and make big games and make games with a lot of content, we're now pretty well kitted out to do that kind of stuff. What we are not kitted out to do is release games because we do it so infrequently that also by the time we do it, there's never been a point because by the time you launch a game every 2 to 5, actually in our case, it's been like 5 years between releases, right? So for our recent ones. Sure. I could spend a whole bunch of time making something to help us release a game. 5 years go by. People who haven't released many games might be thinking how hard could it be? What's the big deal?
Real quick, I'll throw down a gauntlet of just a few high-level bullet points of just some stuff that when you're about to release a game, some stuff you got to do, stuff you got to think about. So first off, you got to make sure you get credits. So everybody who's been involved in the game's production, you got to keep track of that and make sure that you notify those people, get their names, get information, get it all right. You need localization, which we talked about a lot in the past. That's the idea of, translating your game's text to new locales, which isn't just translation. It's also
internationalization.
Yeah, it's taking jokes that don't work in a different place and adapting them to the culture there, and all that stuff. So lots of people get involved.
And dealing with all the technical stuff around that.
Yeah. You also need to make sure that you have a way to handle player feedback and bug tickets. So there's like the customer support side of things. You also need to get your store pages set up. So if you're publishing on Steam, Google Play, whatever.
And that consists of
screenshots,
promo art of n-dimensional qualities. Like there's a bajillion ways and formats in
on
which those
Steam.
are
What do you need? I think on Steam you need 12 different variations of your promo art.
Yes.
Yeah.
Right.
If you're on iOS, you're going to need, I think, like 6 screenshots per device layout per language. So, like in the case of Levelhead,
and phones and 3 languages.
Yeah. Well, so on Levelhead, I think we needed 800 screenshots just for iOS because we had 12 languages. So you got to get all that stuff. But then there's also things like achievements, because every platform has achievements, and they kind of won't really. It's one of those things that they expect every game to have, and if you don't have it, they're like, "What the fuck? How come you're not like integrating our systems into your game? We're not going to feature it, right?" So you got to have your achievements.
Like some platforms, players really expect it. So basically, consoles and Steam, right?
Yep.
But achievements are completely idiosyncratic per platform. So again, exactly
they have points of similarity, but they're all completely different in the details, right? So how do you learn all those details and make sure that your achievements, you're managing your images for your achievements and the text and all that stuff in a way that works across all platforms? And then there's just all kinds of other administrative stuff, like just planning, like making sure that you have your timelines correct and everybody on your team is synced up, or even just like,
frankly, just having a list of all of the links to the stores for
easily
specific places,
navigating around, keeping track of like the fonts and the assets that you're using in your game and the licenses for them, so that you make sure that that's all legally square. There's just if you're thinking like, there's a difference between just jamming out a game in a weekend, right, and having the playable game and then going, okay, let's launch this thing, right, and then it's like, okay, suddenly you're just staring down the barrel of this absolute avalanche of crap that you have to
whether
you're
on one platform or multiple platforms, and it just gets more complicated. The more of them you stack on,
and you might be thinking like, well, do you have to do all that stuff? No, you don't. You don't have to do all that stuff.
You have to do a lot of it, but you don't have to do all of it.
Yeah. I see, for example, if you go to like the game dev subreddit, people will post up. They're like, hey, how come nobody's wishlisting my game? You go to their Steam page, there's no trailer. There's there's one screenshot, there's barely anything. And so there's all these things where, you don't have to do them. But if you don't do them, nobody's going to buy your game. So there's no point.
And importantly, when we made that switch from being like, okay, we can make games every couple of years, we'll just deal with this nonsense once per couple of years, so whatever, to saying we're going to do this at least once a year, if not twice a year. Then we knew, just from having just done it with Crashlands 2, we were like, man, if we have to do that manually every time, that's actually going to be such a time sink, because we only have so little time. And this is one of the biggest concerns we had with pivoting to like how many dudes, was like, if we want to get this game out within a year, how do we compress not just like the development cycle, but store administration basically of all this stuff?
Because that's part of your marketing cycle, right? So that needs to happen not only early but continuously. Because the part 2 is all the stuff that you guys just described is also should be ideally a iterative process that
it is happening in parallel. Right. It's like almost it's going to be happening in parallel.
It's happening in parallel, and you don't want, there shouldn't be like, oh, finally I got my one version of my Steam store done, right? You got to iterate on it. And the earlier you get your store page up, which is better, the more you're going to have to iterate on it as you're going through your dev cycle, right?
Because you need to be thinking about the way that people experience your game isn't just by playing it. They'll experience it via seeing people playing it on YouTube. They'll experience it through its promo art, through articles about it, through its store page, through trailers. It's not like playing the game is one thing, but there's an entire ecosystem of things happening around the game. And if you ignore all that stuff throughout development, then
playing the game happens at the very end, right? Of all of this work. So we needed a way to manage it. So LudoKit is basically our answer to managing a lot of this, essentially what is like self-publishing stuff consolidation across all the different platforms that we are typically on, putting all of that into one place, and then packaging it in such a way that it's both really easy for our own team to do these things. In the past, we've done, Dropbox, Google Drive, like just done all sorts of weird stuff to manage the sprawling nonsense of it. Make it way easier for us, and then do it in a way that actually allows us to scale it so that other devs can. It's almost like we're sort of like completely turning our publishing knowledge into a tool.
Yeah.
Right. All the experience we've had, and then also extending our own publishing knowledge by virtue of having to do this stuff. Right.
Yeah. Well,
So-
because we have to deal with our own use case, right? Which is
Mhm.
like a studio of our size, make the kind of games that we make on the platforms we're making them for, right? We know what all this looks like because we're doing it. We're we're fitting it as we go. But when it comes to building tools like this, we're like, well, it's got to be able to handle the case where it's like one rando who doesn't know anything, who's just getting started.
Who's like, help me, please?
Yeah, please help
Oh,
to an established publisher with a portfolio of 100 games, right? How do we take all of that stuff into account, and then how do we make this? If people's businesses will depend on it, and how do we make so like we're learning a lot in the process of doing it, and the idea is, as you guys are saying, it's a primarily a not a self-publishing, but a publishing helper.
It's a publishing tool,
right? But it also, it's not just about publishing. It's not just for promo stuff, right? It's also to help with game dev itself, but especially where those two things intersect, right? And so that's where things like, your localization and credits and all this other kind of stuff come into play, because you want it to be easy to do the development work too. And there are places where these things relate to each other.
Yeah. And part of the reason we're talking about it now is that, in the course of, with how many dudes has gone, we have gotten to talk to a handful of publishers, also just a few friends of ours who are in the industry. And as we've been developing LudoKit, we've been like, hey, do you guys want to see this thing that we're working on? And just showing it to them, right? We've only invited a handful of people to actually get into it. But as we've shown sort of their various publisher friends and stuff like that, the thing almost, universally, they're like, holy fuck. And they would like to be involved in it, right? And so we're like, okay, probably it's at the point where I guess if it's good enough for them, it probably is good enough for us to start getting some people in there, right? And start like seeing where the wheels are falling off, and how it all is going to work. So where we're at then now is Adam has wrapped up. We consider one of the core features we wanted to have done before we launched the thing, which is going to sound backwards as fuck to it's like standard game dev listeners, and that is the credits system.
Credits management.
So again, as far as features we already have, you can manage your promo art for all the different stores, I guess Steam, mobile, and Switch. You can basically manage all your links.
About the promo art. For me, the killer thing about the promo art is the localization support, because
it's slick.
So the way Adam has put it together, it's almost like you can create templates that have layers. So you upload these different layers of your promo art, so you can like a background and title, text, or whatever images you want. It's not like a template that we've provided. It's just you just upload the layers of your promo art however you want, and then it'll show the different layouts for all the different store pages and stuff like that, and different platforms, and what your promo art will look like on those platforms. And you can go in there, and just like you're using Photoshop or whatever, you can rearrange the layers, scale stuff, move stuff around. But also you can upload multiple versions of the same image and assign those versions to different languages. So you can arrange your promo art, say for English, right? And you go, oh yeah, we're going to be adding, writing Chinese language support to our game. So
updated logo.
Yep. So you create a Chinese version of the title, upload that as an alternate version of your title, and now you just have Chinese promo art. You just have it now, because
swaps it.
Yeah, and you can just toggle between and see how it looks in any given language.
Yeah, you can toggle between, and then when you download stuff, it just automatically does the swaps for you and basically gives you a folder full of stuff properly named. So, because also when you upload stuff to Steam, for example, then if it has the right file name extension at the end that says what language it's in, following Steam's language naming conventions, right, which you would have to know.
Yeah.
But if it has all of that in there, then you can just drag drop the whole bundle of everything into Steam's little uploader. And it goes right spot.
Yeah. So there's all these things where, hey, if you don't have LudoKit, how do you do it? Well, you got your artists going through every single promo art file in Photoshop or whatever and manually swapping out these titles and then re-exporting them. I mean, it's like that tool alone is like a dozens and dozens of hours time saver, for
especially if you want to iterate on your store, right?
It is the flashiest one. It's the one that every time we show any dev friends or publishers, they're like, can I have it yesterday?
Yeah,
please?
and there's always this kind of progression where you're like, oh, yeah, so this promo art thing. And first they can see that there's like a layout of all the different store pages and kind of how it fits. And they're like, oh, that's cool. And then you pop it open and you can see all the layers and you can move stuff. And they're like, oh. And then you click, then you click the button where suddenly it swaps to a different language. And you're like, oh.
And then you scroll down, there's the preview. And you're like,
yeah. And then you drag drop, you're looking at your templates page, and then you drag drop one version that you've assembled onto another template, and it auto-populates it, but now it's that resolution and size, right?
Yeah.
Or that aspect ratio. Because ultimately, promo art is it's the same shit,
just
the
slightly,
same components, but at 1,000 different aspect ratios and sizes, and so everything has to be kind of like reorganized a little bit, but it's the same elements every time, right? And so this lets you just
upload the elements,
right?
And you can just use them however you need to. Yep.
Yeah.
And even stuff like oftentimes, platforms will send us a message and they're like, hey, we want to feature one of your games. We need your promo art
in this new bespoke style in a different format.
As a PSD with layers. And we're like,
and you're like,
God
damn it.
Okay. So like LudoKit can just export all your layers just out into a PSD. So you can just, so again, it's just been, and the reason for all this stuff is anytime we've been working on, say, a promo art, or we get a message from a platform like, hey, we need some images or whatever, it's annoying every single time, right? So whenever we get annoyed, well, we go to Adam and
there's
we're like,
tool opportunity.
We're like, Adam, take this annoyance and turn it into a tool in LudoKit.
So, and now we can make it for everyone.
Yeah.
So
but the promo art is the flashy one. But I think it's interesting because we didn't finish the promo art and then say like, okay, we need to get a lot of people in here, or like start actually telling people about it. It was when we finished or got this credit system to the point that it's working now, where we're like, okay, that's the thing we needed. So like, why on earth would you go with like, just from a feature standpoint, why on earth would you solve this promo art problem first, right? Which feels like a very obvious big one that like people deal with it all the time. Good, right? And it's a flashy thing. You can see it. You're like, yeah. And then be like, you know what we need? Credits.
It's just a list of names.
It's just a list of names. Everybody thinks about it one time at the very end of development. Why would you even bother building a credit system? How is that integral to publishing a game? And how could that possibly be that hard?
Yeah. Yeah. But
so what's the deal with that, Adam?
I would say there are two main elements here. One is the administrative, like collecting and managing of them, right? And the other one is the technical side of like, what does it mean to then get those credits in your game? So on the administrative side, I was the one who collected credits for Crashlands 2. On the technical side, Seth was the one who built like how we get it into the game. And both of those things were unpleasant. But I will talk about, from my experience, the administrative side. Yeah. So Crashlands 2, that's a sizable game, worked on for 5 years. Our team isn't very big as a team, but we localized into, what was it, 8?
As soon as you localize into any language,
localization is always ultimately what the reason we need this tool is because of internationalization. Like, ultimately, right?
Given our team scale, yeah.
It's still like everything else would be better if we had this tool, but like that's the thing that makes everything suddenly explode in difficulty and scale, right? But so for localization related stuff alone for Crashlands 2, it's like 50 people or something. Like it's a lot. And we have our core team. We have the people who helped us out over the years. And then we also had all of our alpha playtesters and beta playtesters. There's 150 of those or something, right?
Yeah.
And we wanted to put those people the credits too, as a thanks for giving us their time and helping us and giving us feedback and helping us get the game.
Yeah. So with a team of like 8 people, we end up with like several hundred people in the credits.
Yeah. And this is really
by the time the game is out.
Yeah. And so and even like this at the smallest scale, like games have like the programmer who made it, the artist, whoever's responsible for the music. At the smallest scale, you've got a dozen people. Like
and most teams nowadays, like most indie teams, are going to have a publisher, right? So as soon as you're going to have a publisher, you have the publisher, but then all the people the publisher have to deal with. Like basically, bringing on a publisher means you have to deal with fuckloads of names because you're probably going to have localization now because of having a publisher. The publisher has a bunch of people doing a bunch of different things that you weren't even going to do, right? So it's not just like, me and my buddy made some games together. It's like now you got a list of 600 names because of this. It was 2 of you made the game, but then there's all this stuff, right?
Games just require a huge number of people.
Yeah, and it takes a stupid amount of time to organize all that, right, and to manage all that.
Yeah,
so like,
so
what
much
was your experience then in Crashlands 2?
So in Crashlands 2,
doing that,
like basically so in Crashlands 2 we had our own team, right? Where I was like, okay, well let me just think about everyone on the team, think about what they did, manually set up their credits, right? And so like me and Seth together basically decide like what our team is doing, right? But that means we also had to decide like what are the roles that we're even doing, right? And so that took a lot of like thought, and also figuring out like you have to figure out what do people usually do, because the stuff has to mean something to the people who read the credits, right? Because that's what they're for.
Credits isn't really for the players; it's more for kind of the industry, right?
Yeah.
So
credits,
like,
the credits are for the workforce, right?
Yeah, if somebody works on a game and then their name's in the credits, then when they're going to work at a different studio or they're whatever, they can point to it. Right?
Yeah, and there's the evidence right there that I did what I said, right? And it's also for players to know who made the thing they liked, right? So it's so you have to like. There's a lot of these questions of just like all this bike shedding, where none of it is that important about the details, but it's important that something be a decent.
Someone has to decide some shit about this.
Something has to be decided, and a lot of little things have to be just kind
of just only details.
It's only details, and there's so many,
and it's highly political, right?
It's very
political. So it's like it's a weird thing where it's like anybody, if you said like, oh, we're not going to care too much about answering this specific question, but there's like 3 people who end up falling under that thing you didn't really care too much about answering. It's like, well, they're going to be kind of like, what the fuck? Like, why'd you put me into that role? Like, it's not even what I do, you know? It's like vaguely inappropriate, like it's just not related to my task.
Then you have ego related stuff where, someone's like, I want to make sure I'm above this person. It's like, there's a lot of complicated, annoying stuff that goes into it, so that administratively, and that's just for like deciding some stuff. But then there's now collecting and managing it, right? Because like, even on our own team, we're going to say for 5 years, our employees changed during that time. We added some, right? So they had to go in. What our employees were doing changed a little bit over time, so we had to adjust their roles. And all this is stuff that somebody had to be thinking about and made sure happened, right? And then for our third-party stuff, it gets extremely annoying, right? Yeah. Because for dealing with localization, I was like, hey, I need to put you all in the credits. Send me names, I guess, right? And so what are they going to send me? Spreadsheet, of course, because that's how else they're going to send it, right? So I just have a randomly formatted fucking spreadsheet with a bunch of names in it, right? And what they think the roles are, but the way that they think about it, because a localization vendor is more of like a business than it is like a studio, right? If that makes sense. So it's all job titles, which don't mean anything, right? So they give you a bunch of job titles, like, how do I translate this into stuff that means something, right? But also, how do I keep track of these names? Because again, we worked on the game for we had over a year that we were working with translators, and we were working for Crashlands 2 with a big translation house with keywords, right? And so that's a constantly evolving cast of people.
Yeah,
right?
Random people cycling in and out too.
Yeah, so people were cycling in and out. We kept getting updated credits, and then I had to basically like do some kind of a diff to look at like, here's my fucking spreadsheet, the new spreadsheet they sent me. Figure out what's changed, go into our in-game system, put the changed stuff in there, right? And at the same time that it's dealing with like, if you got like Turkish, now it's like, oh shit, there's like new characters that have appeared.
There are characters here that we do not have in our
we don't have in the game, because people's names can come from all over the world and don't necessarily adhere to.
Yeah, we're gonna do about that now. So it's like, fuck.
So actually in our in-game system where we store all this kind of stuff, we just have a checkbox for names that are in CJK in Chinese, Japanese, or Korean that just says it is, but our own in-game system doesn't even show it to you. You just have to hope it's in there, right? Because loading a new font into that system just to show a handful of characters didn't make any sense. And so now you can't even like see it to know for sure that you got it right.
When you might be thinking like, what's the problem? Just load up the font. The font.
Yeah, for a CJK font is like 20 megabytes, and
but then once you open the font, and you have to like the game has to process it and make it usable, and so then that is the big problem we had on iOS in particular was with Crashlands was displaying the credits without the game crashing because iOS devices have pretty limited RAM and
they crash the game when they run out. So
once you break a certain RAM threshold, the OS is like, oh, probably a memory leak, and it just kills the app. So we had this problem where it took a couple of weeks to kind of narrow that down. Where it's like every time we showed the credits at the end of the game would just die.
Yeah.
And it's because we loaded the font to display somebody's name,
So
and
there's a
that
RAM
just
spike.
suddenly added 150 megabytes of RAM to the game, and then the game dies, right? So then, if that's all you need to display, you don't need to load 3,000 characters. You just need the characters of the person's name, and that's it. But how do you do that? Right?
Yeah, so for that, again, on that technical side, for that, I wrote a tool that basically looks at our credits, sees what characters are in there, and then pulls those out of a big font to make a subsetted font that only has 12 characters in it, right? So that's one of the aspects of the technical side, which again, like it ultimately all comes down to like people's names is a localization problem, right? Like basically, it's all the same shape of problem.
The characters in them, having the fonts to display them.
Yeah. So I'm over here manually managing, updating spreadsheets and converting that into a format that we can use in game. And then we have our beta playtest, which I also managed, right? And for that, I was basically managing that whole thing was also a nightmare, which at some point LudoKit is probably going to need to address. Not on the roadmap right now, but that was a nightmare because we needed to let people apply. We needed to collect information to figure out how to choose them. We needed to choose them, right? And then once we had our selection of people who play tested, once that was all done, we needed to say, okay, cool. Now we want to be able to add you to the credits if you want to be in them, right? So there needed to be some way for people to opt in and give us their information. But what am I using for that? I'm using like Google Forms and sheets, right, to collect all that info. What if somebody gives me something really weird, because it's people, they're going to do weird shit, right? So what if somebody gives me something really weird? What am I supposed to do about it, right? Send them an email, I guess, and be like, hey, I can't do what you asked for because it's weird, right? So can we do something else?
So you're basically just kind of cobbling together. You're emailing, you're managing 20 spreadsheets. You're got
if you look at the process that went into the Crashlands 2 credits collectively, it is dozens and dozens of hours of
just moving shit,
moving stuff around in this really error-prone way, right?
Yeah.
So
which again, like if you're making like Crashlands is a big game, but our team is not big.
Yeah.
Which means that actually, even with how many dudes, the total size of our credits is likely to be basically the same size.
It's gonna be big, yeah.
Because we have languages. It doesn't matter if you translate one word or 10,000 words. As soon as you do any languages, you have localization teams, right? As soon as you do a beta playtest of any scale, you're going to have names here. So it's one of those weird things where
you got community moderators. You got
no matter how big your team is, this is going to be one of those like very annoying problems. And there's even if you're like, I'm going to try to care as little as possible about this, right? And I just want to just get something workable in here. Even if you're trying to do that, it's like the thing resists simplification.
Because you
that doesn't
have to make all these decisions. You have to decide so many things.
Every time you're like, I'll just do this in the minimum viable way. As soon as you move to the next step, it turns out you can't do it that way.
Yeah,
you got to go back.
It's so annoying. It's so you have to do it for every game project, right?
Yeah.
So
and there's stuff you can do that's not good. Like you can say, hey, I don't want to deal with this font problem, so I'm only going to accept like ASCII characters for names, right? And all of a sudden, people who worked on your game can't be credited with their name, which means
that's not their name.
Because it's not their name. And so
imagine you want to get your name in the credits, and somebody's like, all right, but no T's or Q's.
Yeah, they just put something else.
And you're like,
so it's just,
I guess Quentin's fucked.
Yeah. And I think an interesting part of that too, because again, like you said, credits they're a worker issue more than anything, right? And they're also political, and so you also see all this stuff all the time. Like there's constant discussion in the industry about people not being credits when they should have been, and there are certain disciplines in particular that like just don't show up in credits, and it's like QA. It's basically support role stuff. It's QA, loc often, right? All kinds of stuff that just people put in there, and a lot of this is so hard.
Well, so yeah, it's very frequently though, because those roles, people cycle in and out of those roles in particular a lot more.
Yeah.
A lot more. And they typically are in third-party houses also. So you have this...
Which sometimes won't even give you names. Yeah.
Exactly. So you got like all this stuff working against this being an easy issue for you to just do randomly at the end and not worry about it, right?
Yeah, so you need it to be ultimately like what we wanted to have for our own case was that we could, like what I wanted having done all of that, is to say, hey, I've got a place where I can be like, bloop, 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 paste in a bunch of email addresses for people who did something, right? Or even better, get a link I can share, right? And I did that, right? So I did that. Those people now exist. They're in the credits, right? And now everything else just largely automatic and self-service, right? So that now people get an email. It's like, hey, you've been added to the credits. Here's how you can go make changes. Like, or basically,
So
suggest changes, right?
somebody's like, oh yeah, I want to be listed with a different role in the credits. They can do it. They can go in LudoKit because they've been added to the credits of a game. They can manage their own thing. Now there's an approval process that Adam added. So it's like if somebody changes their role,
I would say they could suggest a change. Right?
Yeah, they can. Yeah, it's just a change, and then you go in and you got as the administrator of the credits page or the manager, you can see all the pending changes and then approve them or whatever.
So now that's just.
And you could also appoint someone as a credits manager.
Yeah, which is the other thing, because that was the other thing. I was like, because again, dealing with localization in particular, where I was like, okay, because for localization, you're going to work with a project manager at some other company, probably, right?
Mm-hmm.
And everything's going to go through them. They're going to give you a spreadsheet. You're going to send spreadsheets back. Like, that's what that relationship is. I was like, I want to be able to just say, hey, project manager, I've added you to LudoKit. Like, I've added you to our organization, and I've given you permission specifically to edit this subset of the credits that's related to your team. Right. So that I don't have to know anything. I don't have to ever see it.
Nope.
It's just done. I mean, I can see it now that it's in there, right? But I don't have to copy paste anything. Like, I don't have to do anything.
Yeah. So it basically, it's a self-service sort of crowdsourced tool where somebody works on the game. You can send them this link. Bam. They're in the credits now. Under whatever name works for them, under whatever role makes sense. You still have control over it, and you can audit it, right?
Yeah, and on the other side, if you're a LudoKit user, you can just go see the list of things that you have credits in. Just a place you can go. You can see all of them, so you can be like, how much?
Which is already really cool, even though, I mean, we just got the credits feature up running, but it's like, it is kind of neat. You go in your account, and it's like...
But so now let's say you change your name, and you want to update credits. But if it's a LudoKit managed credits system, just go in, change your name, bloop. Everybody who, have a credit with gets a little... Gets your credit bumped to the top that says, hey, this is pending changes. The next time they make a build of their game, they can have your change name in there. Right?
Now, for what it's worth, it's not like there's a like an online. It's not like the game will just like talk to LudoKit and get the credits and display them in real time. You know, we might have an API or something. But yeah, at the moment, then the idea is like you could just export the credits from LudoKit out into a file, and then your game can eat that file and then display the credits.
Yeah. And on the technical thing, again, that's that other bit, right? Because now that means that LudoKit can give you a standard data format to deal with when you're trying to render credits in a game. It's predictable, well described, understandable. It can give you everything in such a way that without you having to think about things like how should this be sorted, how should this be organized, whatever. It can basically give it to you in a way that, like, if you just render it what it is, you did it. You've got a nice set of credits standardized in a good order based on conventions and like IGDA's policies, right? So like you can just be done with it.
Yep. And if you provide the subset of languages, the subsetted fonts associated with all the game, so that you can then just also be done with it for all languages and not worry about missing characters.
So I can handle language before you, and because we are giving you a predefined set of rules, we can get them translated already. Right, which means that you don't have to localize your credits, right?
Got it.
They're just they're just already done. And of course, this is all piecemeal stuff coming together right now, right? But that's the full plan for that. Like most of it we already have, but the full plan is that whole thing. And we want all of this because, again, dealing with credits is just an administrative and technical nightmare that people leave to the end of a game project and they're like scrambling because it seems like it's easy. It's just it's a list of names, right? It's so easy. And we ran into this already with How Many Dudes, because when we were getting the demo localized, because How Many Dudes is in the demo is in this like get right into the action. Like it's in this kind of minimal state from a credit and internal promotion standpoint. Like you can even tell it's a Butterscotch game unless you open the settings, right? So like, so it's, we intentionally were just like, we're not credited there either, right? There's nothing like, so we just needed to get it out, and credits are tedious and they take time. And we're like, it's the demo anyway. The full game absolutely has to have credits. There's no way around that. And we wouldn't want there to be, right? Demo should, but we're like, we can get away with it for now, right? And we also confirmed with our Loc team, we're like, hey,
Everybody's cool with it.
Is it fine? Is it fine if we for the demo? Just knowing we swear it's going to be in the full thing. But we already ran into that. We were like, okay, well now we've got all these other people who like really depend on credits. Like translation teams in particular really depend on credits. God, we need a credits page in this thing, right? And then now I'm looking down the barrel of all this shit.
Adam's
that
like,
I had to do for
no.
that. We're right. That is like right now. That is the only thing I care about for features for LudoKit is like I want that to be a non-issue, and I'm going to spend collectively like a month of
building this. Yeah.
It's a tremendous amount of labor.
But honestly, yeah, it's one of those problems where the longer you go without working on it, the more bullshit you have to track down and figure out at the end. And so, yeah, if it's not an ongoing process throughout development where you're just keeping up with it and collecting the names and all that, then yeah, it's just a big problem. So the sooner the better. The earlier you get this, the better.
Well, that's part too. It's like it's also ideal, like a few weeks before you release. Ideally, you could also just be like, hey, I've been collecting these names and stuff over months and years. People's situations could have changed. They could have changed their names.
Yeah, let me send a refresher out.
Yeah, I want to be able to be like, hey, send everybody a note that this thing is coming out and to review their credits, right? So that's one of the things that's on my top of my list of things to have in this feature is just literally a button. You just hit it and it's like.
It was funny even with
let everybody know to check this
with Crashlands 2, because again it's like 5 years. We got the voice actors who did Flux's just various like grunts and stuff because we didn't really talk much, but the voice actors who did those we hadn't talked to for almost 5 years because we got that like in the first year. And so when we launched the game, it's like this sort of thing where like again you would like to know if something you worked on is finally coming out, right?
Yeah.
It was like a week after.
Yeah, she got an email. Like, hey, the game that you worked on 5 years ago just launched today.
Yeah, that'd be cool.
That'd be cool.
And so I got an email. We saw there's a Twitter or email or something like that. She was like, hey, saw the game came out, so excited. Thanks for. And it's like, why does she have to say that to me as opposed to me telling her? And it's like,
and why didn't she get the opportunity? Because we weren't thinking about it to be told before release, like, hey, this is coming out. We're about to bake our credits. So if there's anything you need to change, let us know. Right.
And it's also a little trickier too because it's like Fat Bard handles our audio, right? And so there's also like kind of an intermediary between us.
Well, that's the thing too is there's always an intermediary layer the moment you work with some kind of a third party, and then all of a sudden it becomes impossible for you to like communicate to people who worked on the game the way that you should be able to. All these things collectively come together to say like, credits look like a spreadsheet. No big deal, right? They are an enormous nightmare, and we need them ASAP so that we can have credits in our game. But the reason also we needed to work on that in LudoKit ASAP was because there's so many parts that go into it that it was going to take a long time to build as a general purpose.
The point of LudoKit is every time you launch a game, there's 20 different things you got to do, and each thing is 10 to 30 hours.
Yep.
Can we just take each of those things and make it 10 minutes?
Yep.
If we can, then we'll do it, right? And so,
and if we can do that across 1,000 studios,
it's
a lot of time savings there.
Yeah.
And then you can just work on games.
Yeah, you can take that time savings and then start, vibe coding. And
100%.
And then you can take that time savings and you can spend all that extra time that you save to fix all the bugs that your AI generated.
100%. Yeah.
And it's the future we live in.
It is one of those funny ones where it's like, it sounds like such a weird, like a backwards feature to be adding as one of the launch features, right? For a SaaS service in the games industry. But the more we looked into it, then we're like, yeah, it's perfect. We need it already. And then on top of that, that's sort of one of the underlying mechanisms there too, is that what it does is it creates a natural exposure and growth engine for LudoKit.
Yeah.
Right? Just on the marketing side, which is like, everybody who's worked on like Crashlands 2 or many of our games that we want to put in the credit system, we will be inviting them to make a LudoKit account. And because it's naturally, it's like LinkedIn. It's like naturally people's interest to be like, yeah, I did that. That's like, you're not inviting someone for, I don't know, some random thing they don't care about. It's like, put your name in the game credits. People love that, right? So it's like now we'll have some natural organic growth for every game that gets into the system. And there's people already being in the system.
I will say, this is all internal stuff in the sense that like if you get your name on credits in LudoKit, it's not like there's a browser in LudoKit where you can like look at all the different games that have been made and who's in them. At least that is a possible thing that maybe people could opt into maybe at some point.
Yeah, it definitely wouldn't be like that's how it works kind of thing. Right?
It's not a public directory.
Right. Yeah. Right now the intention is it's for the management of this stuff, not like a public.
Yeah.
Yeah, but build it, but like
email.
getting an invite to your email address to put your name in the credits of a game that you worked on is a thing that people will want to do. That's the kind of email you respond to, right?
Yeah, like, yeah.
Yeah. So that's a
and
nice
if you really
little
want people to
growth engine for us.
sign up, if you really want people to like get involved, just put a slight typo in their title or their name or something, because then they'll be like,
Yeah.
oh, yep.
Yeah, right.
Because the way to get people to do stuff on the internet is to be slightly wrong.
Mhm.
And then everybody just jumps right in, you know. So if you're trying to get people motivated, if you're working on a game, you're a LudoKit, and you're like, I really want people to make sure that their credits are correct.
Just send them the wrong one.
Yeah, just like add a role that they didn't have, or like put an E at the end of their name. You know, just a little thing. They'll jump in right away.
Yeah, and we should actually
you know?
put that in, like, when you do the emails to send out, just be like,
Auto-generate
just scramble the
typos.
names. Yeah. Randomly just pick a different letter for one of these names. That'd be great.
It's like the YouTube algorithm, you know, just like
It is,
say
yeah.
something.
There's
wrong.
that XKC comic where he's like, I can't. What's wrong? I can't sleep. Someone is wrong on the internet.
Yeah.
You know? I gotta fix it. But anyways,
Yeah.
so let's talk about then. All right. So in terms of, so that's all the. So we got the credits feature. We got a whole bunch of other features. People can't use it though.
Correct.
We're doing an internal
You can
invite
use
only.
it if somebody has access to the internal bit and adds you to the organization, and you can use it as a credited contributor to like manage your own credits
It's basically
if you're added to somebody's game. Yeah.
Yeah.
So what we need then is the interesting thing about LudoKit is it's meant to be essentially farm to table game dev cycle management and on the publishing side. So concept to delivery and beyond, right? By the time we're done with the thing. But that means that essentially various features that we have created sit at various points in the production life cycle for a game, right? So you might be at the start of a game, you're like, why do I need LudoKit? I don't need it for this jam project or whatever else, which is probably true. But once you're like, oh, I'm going to stand up my store pages and I promo art, now you need it. If you're like, oh, I'm launching, I need credits, yeah, you need it. And so,
Or they're saying, oh, I'm just starting, I need credits.
yeah,
So
if you're going to launch the
start
game at all.
collecting credits.
So what we're looking for then is just anybody who, if you're self-publishing a game, especially on Steam, Google Play, or iOS, those are kind of
Steam in particular is where like all the store related features are.
a lot of the focus is there.
Yeah.
Then if you want to, you can join the LudoKit Discord server, which is, Adam, is it just discord.gg/LudoKit?
No, because you can't get one of those fancy names until your server's a certain size and stuff, right? So,
Okay.
but if you go to ludokit.com, there's links and you can
Perfect. So go to
sign up for the
ludokit.com.
newsletter. You can see the Discord link. I made a Blue Sky account just to have one, so you can follow it there.
Yeah. And so if you're in the Discord, then we'll be occasionally asking people, be like, is anybody want to do this right now? Like credits. Do you want to try doing this credit stuff right now? We'll be pulling people in to add their games into LudoKit and get access to all the features and stuff like that. Pricing, all that stuff is still kind of TBD. We got a few ideas about it. It's not going to be very much. I can promise you that, especially on like an indie side. We're talking.
It'll probably be. We don't know what the price model is going to be exactly, but it's going to be some kind of a subscription tiered thing that tries
probably on a per game
to do a good
basis.
job, because we think about our past selves too, of like when we were just starting.
What was
We
our
couldn't afford
budget?
to do
What did we
anything.
need?
Yeah, what did we need? What was our budget? And it was kind of like a reasonable thing there. So, so because ideally this thing is its own, product that does something for our studio. But first and foremost, it's a tool for ourselves. And so a lot of it is like, it would be nice if it can at least help pay for itself. It's kind of like, that's like, ultimately we want it to do that so that we get all the benefits of making it for ourselves, but the extra cost that goes into making it more broadly accessible, that at least that gets, eaten up. And that's kind of like our target floor. And then after that, it's like, it would be nice. And so we're not trying to make this as like a, enterprise $1,000 a month SaaS thing. Right.
Yeah. Well, and we were looking, it's like how many games come out on Steam a year?
It's like 20,000 now.
Yeah. And so if we're kind of looking at, it's like, okay, so Adam's working on LudoKit basically full time, and so it's like whatever is the pricing model of the thing, it needs to cover Adam's dev time plus server costs, usage costs, and then plus a little bit extra, right, in case we need.
Well, yeah, ideally you're not.
Ideally, there's an ROI on the thing,
Yeah.
Other than just the time savings for ourselves, which is also part of the ROI as well,
Yeah.
So,
and it's also part of the advantage we have of being a studio where we have our game projects, then we can have these software projects, is that in the same way that our games aren't riddled with IAPs and that kind of stuff. We're like, we can just say like, we got enough stuff going on, and so far things have worked out well enough that we don't have to play that game of like, how do we maximize revenue, right?
Yeah.
We're playing the game of how do we make sure that we're having a good time, that we're building stuff that we like, that we're doing our jobs well. And this is part of that.
Yeah. And just open that up so other people can also have a good time, you know?
Yeah.
But yeah, we recognize that because, so I was saying earlier about like however many games there's coming out on Steam every year on mobile or whatever, there's a finite market for LudoKit, right? There's only so many games being made, and even if we captured every single game, you know, into this system where everybody who's making a game is using LudoKit, you know, it's not that many games really in terms of like it's a lot when you're publishing your game, but if you're like, oh yeah, how many possible like customers do I have for something like this?
Yeah.
It's a different calculus, and also it's a software as a service. It's a business to business product in the sense that like we're making it, we're a business, and it's for people making games and publishing them. And if you're publishing games, then you're doing that as a business, right? But we don't, like Adam was saying, like we don't want to price it like an enterprise. We don't want it to be like, oh yeah, it's like $1,000 a month to have your game in this system.
Yeah, and it
we
might
want it to
be
be
if you're a publisher with a
accessible.
whole bunch of games, right? Like that might be what it is.
Yeah, if you got like 100 games in it or something, maybe, you know. But yeah, we want to make sure that it's just as accessible to small early developers with limited budgets, as well as, you know, large publishers and stuff like that. So yeah, so we'll figure out the pricing, and we might even float some ideas out there.
Yeah, that's exactly it. Is in the meantime, I want to be able to make sure that I can make more visible, but while people can't even use it yet, you know, I want to be able to make it more visible what I'm working on, what the plans are, you know, basically show prototypes of like, here's how this works, you know, like here's what this is doing. So that, because even getting feedback on just like, what do people think this is for, right? And what do people want is already useful.
Pretty useful.
And even feedback when they're looking at something, if you can't use it yet, but you can see it, you know. And then as Sam said, also, I do want to be able to get people into test stuff if like what I'm working on has good timing with what somebody needs, and they're in a spot where they can try out experimental software, right? So for all that, like I would love to have people come in to hang out in the Discord so I can have that open development model and you can see what I'm up to. And so you can find out when stuff is becoming available to actually use.
Play with.
Yeah. So go to ludokit.com if you want to start checking this out. There's a features page on there, so you can see kind of a description of what we're currently doing in it and what we're planning on doing soon.
Yeah, I've laid it out kind of like it's like a roadmap, not with timelines, but with like a rough
order, you know. And then so you can sign up there. We got like Adam was saying, there's a newsletter, there's a link to the Discord. So we want to start kind of getting people into the community around LudoKit so that we can start roping those people into test stuff as needed. So if you're not in those channels, if you're not signed up for newsletter or if you're not doing any of those things, you probably won't know when
there's no way
when this thing comes online. Which our hope is that around the time that we launch How Many Dudes, that we'll be able to also open up LudoKit for the public to.
Yeah, for at least some kind of initial release.
You know how like Facebook started in like colleges only, you know, because they're like, we gotta roll this thing out somehow and figure out how to scale it. So yeah, like we'll be scaling it. Obviously, starting with Harvard, we'll be doing the same.
Probably
path.
Known for the games they make.
Yeah, they don't have to do anything. They got like a $50 billion endowment. I don't think they have to do anything ever again, and they'll be fine. You know. So otherwise, we've just been working on How Many Dudes for the past. I mean, obviously, just nonstop this whole time. And there was a little thing I wanted to just kind of hit on it to kind of close out the episode, which is kind of interesting.
A little design note.
Yeah, a little design note about How Many Dudes. So for people who've played the demo, there's 17 dudes in the demo. And there's, I think, 184 collectibles for you to get. And as you play the game, then those
collectibles are things that you use in the game, right?
Yeah. So the idea is every dude has a bunch of relics associated with him, and there's relics that are just kind of in a global pool and whatever. And as you play the game, you come across these relics and you can, choose them or leave them or whatever. And all we did at the outset was we just kept track of whether you've used those relics or not, and then whether you've gotten the silver star, which in the demo is beating around 100, and then the gold star is beating around 110.
It's basically kind of it's like a non-functional, or I guess there's a little bit of functionality to it if you collect stuff, but mostly what it's for is to incentivize you to try stuff. And
it's about exploration
of things.
Yeah. Yep. It's not about like find the perfect comp, the perfect team, and then grind out
it's literally the opposite of that. It's like
try to use everything once and then try to get everything across the finish line once. Is sort of what it is.
And when we first launched the demo, there was nothing tied to that system. It was literally just a documentation. It was just like, hey, here's all the relics that you got gold stars with. Here's the dudes that you got silver stars with. That alone, just kind of the satisfaction of like checking things off of a list, that alone was still enough to get people playing the demo for 100 hours. And so, but one of the things that a lot of people were asking about then is like, can there be some kind of meta progression, which is the idea of I do a run, I finish my run, and then how many dudes. Finishing a run means all your dudes get knocked out. That's no matter how far you get. At some point, you're gonna lose, right? And that's when your run ends. And so people want that feeling of okay, I can go again now, and the next time I go, like something will have kind of changed because I did this run. So there's like a meta progression layer to it. So all we did to kind of start angling towards that in the demo, in January we made an update where we added pocket dice to the collection system, where as you work your way through the collectibles, then like when you get halfway through the discoveries, you unlock a pocket dice and you start all your future runs with that pocket dice, and that lets you re-roll stuff like a shop or relics or whatever. So you can kind of gamble a little bit with your luck and try to have a better run with those pocket dice. And so I think in the demo, there's 6 pocket dice that you can unlock through that collections system to influence your future runs. And that also worked super well. It's because people already wanted to go through the collection system and check off all those boxes anyway. Right.
But now you got this thing where it's like you finish a run and you're like, oh, I can actually, because of that, I have a little more control over my next run. Yeah. Right. I can do something a little bit differently.
Yeah. So as we've been adding a lot more dudes and adding more stuff to the game, I think Sam in particular was like starting to get antsy about like this meta progression question of like, what do we do? Like, what do we do about meta progression? How do we solve this?
It's also because when I was looking at like our demo or overall demo histogram and stuff like that, I managed to get in touch with Local Funk from Belatro, who shared some of the demo numbers that they saw for their histogram went, and a couple of other devs. So I just kind of asked, like, can I see your data for what your demo looked like? These games have done, roguelikes have done really well. And How Many Dudes is highly performant, right? So it's like up there with all these ones. But there's a certain point, which I would, in my mind, design-wise, is like around having completed like essentially 2 runs or so, where it felt like we were seeing more fall off around that time than most of these other games we're seeing, right? And
are you talking about the games or those games demos?
The demos, yeah, the demos. Yeah. So demos always perform in terms of like this playtime histograms. So it's like % of people who get past 10 minutes, 30 minutes, 1 hour, right? That's what I'm talking about here.
Yeah, it would be like 90 minutes will have like 75% of people, whereas some of these others will have like 80 something percent.
Yeah,
or something like that.
And the thing is, like, it all goes up once you launch the game for real, because there's a lot of weird interactions with demos, right? But the general point was like, okay, there's other people are able to get like better numbers in certain contexts, right? We also have a roguelike game, like it's a relatively close matchup. What might be happening there? And also just for my own thing internally, I'm like, I love playing roguelikes. I'm a big roguelike fan. And not having like exact clarity on how this meta progression layer was going to expand and work, before we get to the finishing all the rest of the content and stuff, had just constantly been it's just constantly itching my brain, right? Just always like, how are we going to do this? Where when you finish a run, you want to do another one, right? Like you really want to do another one.
Yeah.
How do you hook that in? And how do you do it where it's not just a power loop where it's like, oh yeah, plonk some coins in and you get like 5% more attack power with your dudes. How do you make it so it doesn't like short circuit the strategic aspect of the game, right? Which is something we wanted to preserve.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, we started, so they talked about it, we threw some ideas together then to experiment with. And a lot of them came from other roguelike contexts. So things like Slay the Spire, right?
We kind of have to look at like deck builders because how many dudes is a roguelike that has a lot of that combinatorial randomness to it as well, but it isn't a deck builder. And that's kind of where we ran into some
weird stuff. Yeah. And so basically it was like, okay, let's look around other roguelikes in this space, see what are they doing, where might it make sense. So with Slay the Spire 2, of course, coming out recently, we're like, oh, let's look at Slay the Spire. How are they handling this? And how are they making it so you die inevitably on your first run? You're like, I want to try again. And a big part of it we realized is like those games they're providing upgrades they're providing unlocks to more content right within the probability pool of systems. So it's like there's a new card that goes into the pool that you could get. There's a new relic that goes in the pool that you could get. So we're like, okay, I mean, the reality is, a person can only experience things one at a time. So even though we have like 37 dudes or whatever planned for the eventual launch, as a player, your first 2 times playing, you're only going to see 10 of them because that's literally all you could see. So what would it matter if we just put an upgrade system in, or an unlock system in, where per run, then you unlock some more dudes to put into that pool, right? If essentially it's the same, it's sort of like, it feels like meta progression because you're adding more things into the pool, but from experientially, like there's no way you could have experienced all 37 dudes on the first run anyway. So probably it preserves a lot of the stuff about the game that we like in terms of how random it is, how chaotic it is, whatever, with gaining this like, oh, I just finished a run, let me unlock it because now I got a pirate, or like now I got a ninja or whatever, right?
Yeah.
Can we do that? So we built out this whole system, whole kit and caboodle, played with it for a bit, and then just kind of ripped it back out because it turns out it was not.
Yeah, we started it in sort of like the most aggressive form possible, which was basically it's like everything is locked that is not in the demo, basically.
Essentially,
right? Yeah. So like the base game is just what the demo has, right? And then as you like each round you play, some new thing opens up. So
and at first these were systems things because there's a bunch of new things that are in a run that weren't there previously. There's like a food dude who gives you food. There's this trinket dude who gives you equipment, like all sorts of weird stuff.
There's all kinds of new stuff that, yeah. And so this thing, but it created this kind of it created all kinds of bad feelings. So first it's just kind of like knowing that, once you hit a certain unlock point, you'll get access to this new system or whatever. It makes it feel like, okay, I just need to go far enough in this current run to unlock that thing. And then I could just end that run and start a new run. And now I have that thing. Right. So we're like, okay, well, since those things are guaranteed to happen in your run, then there's a binary state where either you don't have it in your weaker or you do have it in your stronger.
Yep.
So it always feels bad to know that it's there and to not have it. And then once you get it, it feels like, okay, now this has just been added into the game now and it's fine now. Right. So we're like, okay, let's not do that. So we ripped that part out. And then we ended up with only having dude and trinket unlocks, which as Sam said, trinkets are a new system in the game where they're kind of like relics, but you can assign them to a specific dude type.
Yeah.
So it's kind of a mix and match, create new capabilities.
There's some real good special
It's pretty crazy. One of our relics is ADHD, makes your dude just run around like crazy all the time. So lots of weird stuff. And so we're like, okay, we'll unlock the trinkets and the dudes as you progress. So, and then, the idea was you'd earn sort of like renown or something like that. And then as you clear each round, you earn renown. So it's sort of like experience.
It's like experience
you're getting, and it's like, okay, well, it makes sense that like, as you go deeper into the run, then you gain more amounts of renown per win as you get further in. Right. Which then that created a new set of perverse incentives. So one is it's kind of like if your run ends early, now it feels extra bad because you never got deep enough into the run to actually like get good stuff, like to get high amounts of renown. But also it pushes you to say like, okay, well, I want to unlock everything. So I'm just going to try to find a team that's really, really strong and just
grind it out.
Just grind it out. Just mow down all the different, just keep going through run after run after run, get as much renown as possible. And then once I have everything unlocked, then I can finally play the game,
Yeah.
Like, okay, well, that fucking sucks. Like, that's the opposite of what it turns out is fun about the game, which is the combinatorial exploration side of things, which the collection system was already doing.
It was already doing, but it was doing in basically a limited capacity because of where the game was when we made it, and because also we had to cut the demo, right? So
Yeah,
we basically were like, okay, let's just revisit that then, remove some of those restrictions on there so that a lot of the stuff that you normally in the demo context, like basically stuff that you would normally get and it might be locked in certain ways to like a particular difficulty you're on or whatever else, will make some of these effects global. So this is just function like achievements, right? Where it's like, okay, once you manage to get X number of dudes across gold, then you get Y thing, right? But more permanently. And so we made that change, and it's been just real fucking good since. And I think interestingly, it's a lot of what the game dev process then is like, you're making stuff, you're trying to figure out exactly what the game even is, right? And I think with How Many Dudes, it's been really weird because it is an auto battler, it is a roguelike, it's also kind of a deck builder. We've been thinking about it in terms of Balatro and like tabs, totally accurate battle simulator, which is a fun thing to watch. And what's interesting about it is like, if you think about tabs and you think about Balatro or something like this, as these two genres to kind of smash together, these are two very different games. Very different.
You can't just take something that one of those games has and pull it in as is and make it work.
Yeah, or it's like if you do, like we tried to do with the Renown, you find out, as long as you're moving quickly enough, right? You can find out more about what the game is, right? And so we're kind of mentally updating our model, like what the fuck is this thing that we're building with How Many Dudes? And it's like it's like a roguelike simulation deck builder, right? Where it's fun to watch it do things, but the fact that it's a sim means that it has this kind of exploratory toy-like aspect to it. Like,
yeah, well,
totally I'd say Space Grim.
I would say there's two ways to play it, and I think everybody starts in one camp, and then some subset of players migrate into the other camp over time. Mm-hmm. So there's the explore exploit dynamic, which is when you first start playing How Many Dudes, you don't know anything.
Yeah.
And as the new flyers come in, you're like, ooh, a knight, ooh, a dentist. Spoilers. What are these? What do these do?
You don't have a sense of what that. You can read the stats.
Yeah, you read it and you're like, I guess that sounds like something. I'll just mix it together, right? So you end up you got your knight, you got your dentist, you got your alien, you got your Spartan, whatever. And then as you pick up the relics, you start to learn more about how each dude operates, what his strengths and weaknesses are, but you're just kind of doing stuff. You're just like vibing. You're just picking a team and just picking what seems cool, and you're just cruising and having a great time. And there's enough stuff in the game, especially as we're pushing through further into development, that just that exploration phase takes a long time, but then over time, people start to get into that mindset of like, I have theories. Yeah, I have ideas.
I played with the dentist. I wonder if, right? And that's getting into the toy territory, like the simulation toy territory.
What if I mix these three dudes together, and then I use this trinket on this dude? Can I then do this crazy thing?
Yeah, but what you're basically getting at, these are fundamentally like kind of at odds, right? Because there's the one where like things are really random and you're like experiencing lots of stuff and you're trying new things. And then there's the I want to control what's happening, like very specifically.
And so one of the things that we're working on is trying to make sure that we respect both, right? Which is kick off the game with this just, hey, absolutely chaos, just go nuts, just have fun, just do random shit, see what happens, right? Mm-hmm. But then as people move into this other camp, how do we have the meta progression system and the kind of the metagame systems in general respect that desire that people have to do that other thing. So
without respecting it all the way, because every time so far, because I'm mostly like observing as Sam was doing design discussions and then talking about whether something worked. It's like it's every time they try to nail something down and make it less squirrely to give you the option to be like, I'm going to control this, right?
Mm-hmm.
The game's worse, like
Yes.
every time. And so there's like, we because of what the game is, we can't go all the way there, but we know people want to have an experience that gets closer.
We
to
basically
that,
we don't
right?
we're not trying to support an actual tab situation where it's
Yeah,
like
you're not making
you
every
set up
decision.
an army.
Yeah.
You know who you're fighting against. It's like blah blah.
Like the pure sandbox where you just say, yeah,
Yes.
I want 7 of this dude, 12 of this dude. I want these relics. I
Yes.
want these
It would
exact
be like
things.
playing Balatro where you choose your hands every time.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
It's
which
like,
at
it's
that
kinda
point, like that's not. Yeah, that's the opposite
doesn't-
of what the game is for.
Yeah. So, but we do want to be the case that if you play a bunch and you have that question, they're basically people's minds naturally start bubbling up these questions, right? Where it's like, what if I put a dentist with a Spartan? What if that works? And it's like that you could then just go explore that in a way that we know, basically because of how the game systems work, that it will, like, it all works and it actually is. It's a fun way for you to go play the game, as opposed to like somehow too much control that breaks the game, right? And so we managed to do this with this new entourage mode, or
Ensemble mode.
ensemble mode, where you can essentially just pick your dudes ahead of time, provided you've met a certain kind of meta progression, floor.
It's essentially it's a game mode that you unlock through the collection system. Because also the idea is like if you throw at a brand new player, you're like, hey, just go ahead and pick your dudes, just pick your team.
Yeah, let me look through.
And there's like 40 or whatever. And they're like, what the fuck is all this, right? So having the randomness of posting the flyers through the normal game mode works great for teaching and just like learning about the game and just kind of trying stuff.
And you would have
right?
strong incentives for people to truly explore everything before they start. Before
Yeah.
they start being like, I already have opinions now, and I want to,
Yeah.
right? Because their opinions are going to be wrong too. When you've only if you've played one dude, even if you got him all the way to where you needed to, but you've only played him in one context,
Yeah,
one
like this,
time,
yeah.
right?
Exactly.
So we don't want people to like just go right for I've chosen my team, right? We want people to have to like have developed significant experience with the game, with the dudes they're trying to assemble, and even once they've done that, still be being constantly encouraged to like, cool, you're doing that. Remember, there's still 1,000 other dudes though, so go try some new stuff.
Yeah. So all that this is then is it's once you hit a certain number of discoveries. So you don't even have to be good at the game, right? You don't have to get gold stars or anything. You just have to have played enough,
Yeah, get a good survey of what there is.
Yeah. So once you hit that, you unlock it, and then at this point, the way it's set up is just any dude that you've discovered, meaning
which means you've used them once.
You've used them once, right? Then you can now, in ensemble mode, you can pre-post the flyers for that dude type, and make your team.
Do you
And
choose
can
the order in which you're posting them? Or?
no. So the way it works is they all get posted ahead of time.
Okay.
And then you can also leave empty slots. So if you say like, I just want these 3 dudes, and then I'll just let chaos reign, right? So you can say like, all right, I'm going to pre-post these 3 flyers. And so then normally the flyers are posted on round like 1, 3, 7, 9, and 17 or something like that. So your first 3 flyers will be automatically taken care of because you already pre-posted them. And then when you get to those last couple of flyers, where you left empty slots, then you just get presented with the options as normal.
That's my favorite.
Okay, so you still have to fill the roster, but
You still got to fill the roster.
Oh, yeah.
But you don't have to decide every dude on the team. You can just be like, you know what? I just want to try Samurai and Alien. Let's go.
I know. I've seen players ask for like, I just want to be able to have like exactly these 3 dudes because I don't want to have any wasted resources or like right. But again, it's the same idea. It's like
It doesn't
everything's
work.
balanced and designed around the idea that we don't want you to have like. There's
can't
3 kinds of
concentrate.
dudes. That means you've only seen the relics for those kinds of dudes, and because of the balance.
Now the reason this can work in the full game, but not necessarily in the demo, is basically 2 reasons. One is the demo only has 17 dudes. So if you're like, I want to pre-choose my team, it's like, all right, well, you've just like you could just take a third of all the dudes and lock them down. There's just not enough. There's not enough variety in the demo.
It is still a lot of combinations.
It's a lot of combinations, but viable, or like when people are looking for combinations of like what can go as far as possible, and that's what a lot of the community theory crafting in the Discord is about, So then
it's actually the trinkets layer though that makes
the real thing is if you pick the same team of dudes, will you have the same run every time?
And the demo, you kind of.
Yeah, because the demo is set up where like in general it's not that hard to just max out the business dude investment strategy and have literally every single relic. And so if you have the exact same dudes on your team and you have every single relic available to you, that's everything. That's
you
all.
You end up in the same place. You know?
Yeah, you end up in the exact same place, and so then your run doesn't really change.
Yeah,
so
because ultimately, for stuff to actually be interesting on repeated attempts, it has to somehow be nearly guaranteed to be different.
Right?
Yeah,
even with the same team comp.
Yeah, so with some of the new stuff that we've added, like Sam was saying, we've got several new events and new types of dudes that come visit you in your ranch that do different things. We have this new trinket system that has a lot of variation in it, and also we have difficulty levels now. So like once you gold star a dude in tier 1, then you can now start playing with that dude in tier 2. And tier 2 has another set of silver and gold, collection benchmarks there that unlock new things. And tier 2 is harder, especially on the economy side, because like basically at the end of the day, in the demo and how many dudes, if you're good with your money, you end up with all the relics, and then you just win, right? And so a lot of the decision making around like managing your money and how much things cost and stuff like that stuff kind of changes as you move up through the levels, and it gets harder and harder to just get literally every single relic.
Yeah, your choices become more impactful.
Yeah, and so because of that, as you get to the higher difficulties, then even if you picked the exact same dudes ahead of time, your run is still different every single time. And so now that we've hit that threshold where it's like, okay, we've done it, right? We've got everything there. We have the variety. Now we can open up a system like this ensemble mode where, yeah, you could just pick your team and go. Yeah. So we literally just added the ensemble thing
yesterday,
2 days ago, something.
2 days ago. Yeah.
And it's been so great because we have so many new dudes now that I've had all these theories where I'm like, oh man, it would be so cool if I could like put these 3 dudes together and then try this because of this weird interaction that they have. But getting those 3 dudes just hasn't happened. And like in playing for like months after these dudes have been added, I just have never been able to have that combination. And we don't even have all the dudes in yet. So if we get 10 more dudes in there, then it'll be even more impossible to make the team that you want to experiment with, right? So, yeah, I think a lot of our players will be very excited to know that we're kind of going down this path.
It's like when you're trying to do these design things, it's like you're trying to make these really high level decisions that will impact. It's not just a run, right? But it's like take the concept of run and then like what happens when a player loses or wins, and try to make it so it ties into some broader long play of the game, and also just like so that you're just kind of getting into the player's head of it. Can you live rent free in a player's mind after they play your game? And I think what's interesting is that I feel like we're because of the simulation, leaning more into the simulation aspect of things, after having added a lot of really good texture to the actual per run experience with stuff like the trinkets. I feel like it's one of the few times where I think it would only, all this stuff is only a thing people would be excited about. Oftentimes when you're adding like meta progression or whatever else, it's like there's like because of
a bunch of stuff is locked, and then you can't have it until you unlock it. People are like, well, I mean, cool, but like now I got to grind that shit out.
Yeah, it's like
it's not fun to not have something. Right?
Yeah, we haven't locked anything in where it creates any incentive to not play the game in a way that it feels like mentally people just like want to engage with it as this like interesting toy also, right? So I'm very excited with it, with how it's shaped up.
It feels like it hits that balance of letting people try stuff, like intentionally try stuff, without being like, yeah, you've just chosen the outcome.
Broken the game now. Yeah.
Because we don't want you to choose the outcome. We want you to choose the shape of your experience, right?
Yeah. And I will say it's been interesting because since the demo was out, because again the demo has done stupidly well for us, and just even still those stat numbers are just mind blowing. It's been downloaded like 450,000 times now, right, on Steam.
Yeah,
which is crazy, just crazy. And median play time like 2 hours. It's just nuts. And so the progression though, since we launched the demo, was basically saying, yeah, we'll get more content in, but while we're doing that, then we're going to take these little side quests to go solve these other problems. So first was just make each run a little bit more different, so that by the time you end up at the end, it's not the same with the same comp. So we did that first with the trinkets and food. And then it was like, okay, now we can hit this Now that the runs are a bit better, more textured, we can hit this other meta progression layer, try something, throw it in the trash, try something else. It's like, okay, it works. And it feels like now we're basically at the point where there's a few more of these like kind of tweaks to those systems level things, but it's largely systems are essentially complete.
Yeah, it's essentially we want to like now finish off making all the dudes. We want to get all of the end game, all the end game content and like new enemies, new bosses, stuff like that. And then just like polish and special effects, and clean up and whatever other kind of like optimization. Just all the loose ends, right?
And
but yeah, I think the big
platforms
questions
and publishing. That's what we
yeah.
Yep.
So we actually are taking on spring break right now, but we pre-designed 3 new dudes because like whenever we have a break, I'm like, perfect. Now I can really get some work done.
Seth likes to just go.
So literally, Sam and I designed 3 new dudes yesterday afternoon, and I already got one of them done. I accidentally stayed up to midnight doing it. I'm fucking tired, but I did it.
Yeah, we've been really like all of us have been in because even for myself at LudoKit, like, yeah, I'm building credits pages. I know that sounds not interesting to make, right? But the problems are just so interesting and weird, and the design challenges are so extensive, and also it's taking forever. And I really want to get it done, right? And so like it's been like all of us this week and last week have just been like fucking going.
It's been pretty good.
Yeah, I haven't been feeding myself very well. I've been working late. I've been not doing any house chores.
It's the game dev on fire.
There's the hyperfixation thing. Like once you can see the scope of the problem and you know the path,
you gotta do it.
Then you can do nothing else until you walk the path. You just got to do it. So I told Sampy, I was like, my wife, I was like, I have some bad news. We've designed 3 new dudes, and she's like, oh no.
Oh no.
Like, yeah. I was like, I'll see you in 3 days.
Yeah, bye.
So anyways, all right. Well, that's all the time we have for this week's episode. So just to quickly recap on the LudoKit stuff, head over to ludokit.com if you're interested in getting access to these different tools for publishing your game and handling all the administration around that. Head to ludokit.com. There's a features page. There's a Discord link. There's a newsletter sign up. So get signed up to all that stuff if you want to get an early look into that. And we'll be reaching out to people who are in those channels as the thing gets online. So otherwise, we'd like to thank our producers, Fat Bard and Ensemble Acosta, for putting the podcast together. And thanks to our community moderators who keep our Discord running. To get more involved in the Butterscotch community, just go to podcast.bscotch.net, where we have links to the Discord, a way for you to donate to support the podcast, and links to the archives. And of course, if you haven't yet, head on over to Steam, pick up the How Many Dudes demo, and have fun. Go nuts. We appreciate it. So thank you all for listening, and we'll see you next week.
Goodbye.
Goodbye. Bye.